Hey guys, it is early, so I'm gonna play this tiny little tournament. It's to warm up, and I'm going to discuss and talk about ranges. It's important that we have ranges. We're playing heads up that we do different things with different parts of our range. Now, right now, my range of hands is all of the hands that would raise against his open limp. So pocket pairs, suited connectors. This flop hits my range pretty well, but I think it hits his range harder because he has all the hands that he limped in with and yet called a raise with. Suited connectors like 9, 10 are going to be in that range. Probably some Queen 9, Jack 10. So I do think that this is a board where we're just not going to be able to represent this as hard as he can, and our pocket sixes are just so unlikely to improve. And because of those things, and because of the fact that we're out of position, I think our best option is just going to be to check and fold here. We could have made like a tiny bet because he shouldn't be continuing unless he has some piece of that flop, unless he's connected in some way. But the problem is that almost, I would bet something like 60%, 66% of his range is going to connect with that flop in some way. And when you account also for the fact that we're going to be faced with bluffs some of the time also, seemed like just a bad spot for me. Okay, so the ace queen suited against an open limp. And you guys have been seeing a lot of open limping because I think mostly because I've been playing super micro stakes. You don't see a lot of it. Okay, so now I need some hands that are going to bet the flop for value, and this is top pair with top kicker. And certainly I'm going to use this hand as part of my value betting range. I'm betting not to protect my hand, not to find out where I'm at. I'm betting for value with my, I'll show them mine. I'm betting for value with my top pair, top kicker, simply because I think that there's going to be a lot of hands in his range that are worse than mine, but that will still call bets. Now here, we ought to have a check back range, so there should be some hands that we check back on this flop. There should be some hands we bet. And I think a pair of fives is real close, so the question is like, can he call me with worse? And will he fold better? And I don't think he's ever going to fold anything better. So the question becomes, will he call me with worse? I don't think he will. If he has some pocket pairs, he might. Now this, because I will be checking back a lot of ace highs, this ace high actually hits my range much harder than it hits his range. So I would think if I'm this player, I really ought to be checking this card almost all the time, whether I have a 10, an ace, no matter pretty much what I have. I want to check and probably check raise. If I'm this guy, I want to check raise my air as a bluff, and I want to check for my value hands also, expecting that me, the button, is going to bet that ace a lot. Okay, now I think that he's either just giving up or he's looking for a trap with a big hand, or he's got some kind of showdown value that doesn't want to bet and get raised, but will check and call one bet. So I don't think there's really any parts of our opponent's range that we want to bet against. I mean, he's got little pairs, well, like a pair of twos. So that makes sense. His play was kind of somewhat consistent after the flop, in that he took a stab at bluffing on the turn, but the way that he went about it was bad. I think he ought to have check raised if he was going to bluff, and actually that probably would have gotten the job done. And then when he picked up a pair on the river, he thought, well, now I have a pair, so I can show this down and just try to win uncontested. But I don't know. I think his pair of twos probably wasn't strong enough to try to use as a bluff catcher. I think we get value from all of his ace X combos. We get value from his 9X, like 9 plus another card. Ace highs we'll call, flush draws we'll call, and pairs that are worse than 10s. All of those hands we'll call. So I think we can definitely bet and get value. Not in love with the check raise, but he looks like he's been doing some semi-flaky things. And real happy that he didn't bet. If he would have bet there, that would have put me in a really bad jam. Because he would probably have a lot of busted draws. But I mean, he could just have random button clicks. Like he could have done that with a 3, and I wouldn't be too surprised. So I'm more than happy to check this back and just hope that it's back. Now against that exact hand, the 9X part of his range, I may have missed a bet. Maybe not though. Meaning that had I bet the river, maybe he would have called me and I would have won an extra bet, so I missed a bet. But with his entire range, all of the hands that he has in total, I think betting is, on that last river, betting would have been pretty terrible. Pretty bad for me. Okay, he's been limping a lot, but he's not been folding when I raise. Okay, so 2, 4, 6. It's too bad we can't count our draws by 2. Okay, so I'm gonna just go ahead because I should have some hands that just lead here as a bluff. I want to use this hand to do that with because it has no showdown value. I can't catch bluffs with it. I don't have a draw. I don't have a pair. I don't have any real equity in the hand. So the first thing you need when you're going to make a bluff is a bad hand. A lot of beginner and intermediate players, the mistake they make is they use hands that have value to bluff. Like they kind of accidentally turn a hand into a bluff. For instance, like my opponent here could have had like ace 4 and made that play to quote protect his hand, or quote because he thinks he's got the best hand, or to find out where he's at. Whatever. All of that's baloney. All he would have done right there, if he would have been using a hand like ace 4 for second pair top kicker and raised with it, is he would have gotten me to fold all the hands he beat and gotten called only by hands that beat him. So he would always be putting his money in bad. And there's just better hands to use, better parts of your range than that. I'm getting a sick price. It is a bad hand, but to call 45 for a 165 pot in position against a bad player, I think I just need to do that. This bet sizing I think is telling, and I believe that this is going to be one of two things most of the time. It's going to be a flush draw that's looking to maximize its fold equity, or it's going to be like a top pair trying to protect its hand against the draws. It doesn't matter, I can't beat any of it. But look at the SPR he creates, the stack to pot ratio he creates if I call. If I call, there would be 6 something in the middle, and we'd have had 900 effective stacks. He would have had 900 chips behind, and there'd be a 600 chip pot. And if he had a flush draw, it would have been a very just terribly awkward spot that he put himself into. Ace 2, any ace is worth an open raise on the button. Yeah, I kind of had a feeling for some reason that he was going to donk into me. But I think our hand is probably not strong enough to raise for value. It's probably too strong to raise as a bluff. So we just call with our ace high. And our ace high is going to be good. I think a pretty good amount of the time. I'm not in love with the 7. He could definitely have had a hand like 8-7, and now he just improved to a pair plus and up and down straight draw. So I think we're done at this point. I would like to see what kind of hands he's donking into me with. Again, we don't have any equity, so we're just going to take one shot at this. Okay, we hit the perfect card. So if we're ever gonna fire a second shell without a hand, this is it. We've got an open-ended straight flush draw. So the six of diamonds was just a really good card for us. Probably not a great card for our opponent's range, because we expect that he's gonna raise his flush draws on the flop at least some of the time. So we could more credibly represent a flush than he could. And plus, we had a straight draw, open-ended straight flush draw. So we had a lot of equity if we did happen to get called. Weird tiny bets. But, you know, I've got two cards in position, so I guess I'm going to take a look at the flop for next to nothing. He's been leading a lot, and now he's checking to the razor. I'm interested to see what that means. It means that he's got a check raising hand. Okay, so if he's checking his strong hands, and it looks like he's either checking his strong hands or his draws. If he's checking his strong hands to me, then what does that mean about his leads when he bets into me? And I think what he's doing is, I've seen him lead what apparently were drawing hands. So I think he's leading his draws. I think he's checking his big hands, and I think he's leading probably his bluffs or his mediocre hands. Got a bottom pair here, and here it was just showdown value, but now I think we can get value out of it. Because we got, I mean, he's still, he didn't have a lot. I don't think he has a lot of hands that are going to check back on this flop and then call a bet. Probably mostly what they are would be draws or like slow plays. And I don't think I want to bet against a busted draw because he'll just fold. And I don't want to bet against a slow played straight or something because then I'll lose a lot. So I think I just want to check to him and hope to induce a bluff from his busted draws. And that looks very much like a value bet. But again, I mean, if we get value owned here, we still lost the minimum. I mean, I have 3 nines. Losing 2 kind of small bets is not too terrible. And, if he's got a busted draw, I win the pot. Or like a terribly played queen. Yeah, he played that hand really bad. He had a really good opportunity to just check back on the river and go to showdown and really recognize or actualize his showdown value with no additional risk. I don't know why he would have. And I'm glad that we have this spot here because he's donking into me, and I actually have something that is good enough to just call him down with. Got top pair with a reasonable kicker. And I do want to see what that kind of value or what kind of hand strength he's donking with. So I don't think checking back would be terribly bad anyway. He is fishy, so betting is probably better because we get value from like 5x and whatnot. But it's probably close because by checking back we'll induce some bluffs and maybe we'll get called by like a pair of 2s, and when we are behind we lose less bets. Now I think that when he checks again here, he usually is checking to call, because if he didn't have anything, I think he would have been at least tempted to bluff it. So yeah, I think because he checked, he's probably got a stronger range than had he bet, which is good because I don't think he's got ace-x. I think he's got something like a pair of 5s. A lot. He should have like one pair that I beat pretty frequently. Let's take a look, see if we can see his hand. Sometimes Bovada, just the connection doesn't work and you can't see it, but he actually did have one pair, but he picked it up on the river and elected to check and call, which I guess actually is probably how I would have played the hand if I was him. I don't have anything on a flop where it's almost hard to not have anything. So I think that I'm going to have so many hands when I just check here that are like 7-8, even 6-7 for a gut shot, 2 random clubs, any 2, 10, 9, even like an overcard or a couple overcards some of the time, I guess. Like, well, in any case, I'm going to get here with so many much better hands than what I have that I don't really think I need to use this hand to bet with. I think this is just on the flop too janky. I'm going to have plenty of better hands in this situation that I can use than a queen high. But I got a scare card here that I can represent. I didn't raise pre-flop, but neither did he. And I picked up a gut shot to improve my equity. And he showed weakness by checking the flop back. So all those things to me sounded like a bet. Okay, the blinds are at 25-50. We're just barely able to min raise and fold to a shove. But I would expect that he knows, and yeah, he's real bad. That's a really terrible bet. He should just be moving all in if he's going to be raising me. There's 300 in the middle. Cost me 100 to see the flop, and I'm in position. And I think our stacks are such that if I call here, if I flop a pair, we can probably just get it all in on the flop. Yeah, so we're just going to try to... I mean, I'm tempted to go in 2 stages here. Like I could do a tiny, like 150 bet here, and then go for the rest on the turn. But I think the board's got enough texture to it that I'm just going to go ahead and rip it in. Just going to put them all in. And I wanted to do that, you know, while he could still stack off with like a pair of 2s or something before a third club came out on the board, or an ace, some kind of Broadway hand or Broadway card. For 1, I don't want his draws to beat me, and for 2, I don't want the draws to get there and freeze my action and make it so I don't win any more money from his hand that would be afraid of the draws. And so it was my last chance basically to extract a lot of value from draws and to get stacks in against hands that would be afraid of the draws. So both of those things. And at 5,100, there's not really much room for clever plays. We have a king. We're just going to put the money in. We're good. We've got the best hand, and we just hope that it holds. And ship the pot my way. And so now our brain's warmed up, and we'll look for like a reasonably sized. He didn't want to rematch. We'll go to like a $10 table now. Let's see what kind of time we're at. But that'll be for next video. So until next time, good luck.